Hey, welcome to another season of Upon Further Review. My name is John Enrietto. I am the sports editor of the Butler Eagle, flanked by, I'm joined here by Derek Pyda, Eagle sports writer on my right, and Brendan Howe, Eagle sports writer on my left. And gentlemen, it's hard to believe that Derek, another season of football has arrived here.
It just seemed like last week that we had our last show of last year. Brendan joined us about halfway through last year. Now he's on full time, ready for the brunt of the football season, and we're gonna kick his butt in the picks too.
Just to describe for our listeners what the show is all about, we will do a weekly look back at the previous slate of Butler County area high school football games, as well as make our picks for the games for this coming weekend. And we'll have a little feature talk, spotlight some players, some coaches, some teams involved. We do an over/under segment, two of those every week. One of my favorite parts of the show, and we conclude the show every week with an how about segment, which we talk about something other than high school football. So Brendan, let's shift over to you here. We will make our picks a little bit later in the program here, but looking at this week's schedule, week one starting up, give me a couple games that stand out for you as what could be some marquee matchups this coming Friday.
Well, Shaler at Butler, first off, right down the road, obviously. It's one of those classic Quad County matchups that we saw a few years ago before Butler left for D10 and Shaler moved down a few classes. Along with that, I would say Seneca Valley at Penn Hills. Seneca Valley has some high expectations this year. Some kids going D1 that I was able to feature in the past few weeks. And then the game I'm covering, I'm excited for Freeport and Indiana to see if Freeport can kind of carry over the success they had last year with their defense. And I know they have a few running backs that will make their mark. So,
Derek, your thoughts on, give me a couple games that stand out for you this coming week.
Well, I'll reserve my pick for later, but I'm calling it right now. I think the game of the week, as far as back and forth excitement, is going to be Butler Shaler. Seneca Valley.
I'm glad to hear that because that's my game, so that's good.
Seneca Valley, Penn Hills, both teams have a lot of good athletes. I think there's going to be some big plays in that game. And another game that's kind of intriguing is the Sarah Catholic North Catholic game. Both teams played for a Whitfield championship last year. North Catholic lost in the AAA final at Heinz Field. Sarah Catholic won the 2A championship, and they're opening up the season against each other. So a stiff test for both of those teams.
Yeah, you stole a little bit of my thunder with North Catholic at Sarah Catholic. I think a pretty good test right out of the gate for North Catholic. As you mentioned, these are two teams coming off very strong seasons, and I'll also echo your guys' sentiment on Shaler Butler. A couple of returning starting quarterbacks both threw for well over 1,000 yards last year. Shaler also brings back their top two wide receivers, whereas Butler's a little bit banged up at that spot going into the opener. So I'm intrigued at what's going to happen that night. And one other game I'll throw out there is Montauk at St. Mary's. St. Mary's coming off a big season. Montauk, a rough season, but an experienced group, a lot of players back, a lot of they've gotten physically stronger. According to Coach Bob Rotman, their best work in the weight room since he's been there. So we'll see how that pays off. I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens with Montauk in that opening game. Switching gears here, we have a couple of prominent coaching changes. I know there's a new coach at Summit Academy, and I want to just respect that at all, but two coaching changes that really stand out for me. Tim Burchett over at Mock, Eric, and the Pine Richland guru, Eric Kasperovic at the Mars. Derek, you cover Mars, you talked to Eric. What kind of impact is he going to have with the Planet, do you think?
Well, I was down at their practice about a week ago, and I was talking to some players, talked to some, obviously, Coach Kasperovic himself, and some assistants, and you can just tell. I mean, we'll see how it plays out on the field, but it seems like he's really infused that program with a lot of energy. As you know, they're coming off the first season. They didn't make the playoffs in 17 years. Yep. The kids, they're looking to rebound, but Kasperovic obviously coming in from a ton of success he had at Pine Richland. 4 Whitfield titles, 2 state titles. I think he's going to bring the energy that's needed, because it doesn't just take talent. You have to have direction, and he obviously is a great head football coach. Proved that at Pine Richland, and I think he's going to add the energy that maybe they were lacking last year. Mars coming off a 2-8 season. One of those wins was a 4-foot win. So I look for this season to be a really big bounce back year for the Plains.
Okay. Brendan, Tim Burchett at Knock, not the only change of the Knock Knights are experiencing this year. They've gone from 4A and a Whipple down to 3A, so a whole new schedule that way. And the biggest thing, no home games. They're getting an artificial turf field over at Knock. They're on the road. They're going to play a couple of their would-be home games at Butler this year. Tim Burchett, a Peters Township coach, assistant, a lot of success down there. They went to the playoffs every year. They went to the Whipple finals once, semifinals twice. He's been a teacher at Knock for the last 4 or 5 years, so he knows the kids there, knows the program. What kind of impact do you think Coach Burchett will have in the middle of this season of change at the Knock?
Well, first off, can you guys think of any tougher situation than come in as a new head coach and have to play every single one of your games on the road? I know Freeport's close and Deer Lakes is a little bit closer, but still that home environment where people can just come from the community right to the field, it's kind of gone. They have to drive to these games, they have to show up to support them. But being that Knox struggled last year, they have the only direction they have to kind of go is up with this new coach and the coaching change. Like Derek mentioned, with the infused energy, it might pay off for Knox too.
Yeah, I think both of these coaches' cases, they're not only coming in as first year coaches, they're revamping programs that had had very definite offenses. Offenses running the last few years. Of course, Knock had a triple option. That's out now. Coach Burchett going to more of a spread offense. Scott Heinauer and his wing T over Moore, that was legendary. That's gone now. So I'm intrigued by what's going to happen to both those teams, not to mention the fact that neighboring schools, I don't think that they don't play each other this year, do they? I don't think they do.
I don't think so.
But I really believe both these guys are going to have success. I think Coach Burchett may take a little bit longer because everything is so different, and Knock homecoming, senior night at somebody else's stadium, it's going to be strange. But we'll see how that goes. Next statement, and I know that this is a tough question because we haven't played a game yet. But if the Butler Eagle did a Butler County high school football player of the year, which we don't do, but if we did do, Brendan, will start with you on this question. Who would be your top 2 candidates going into the season for Butler if we had a Butler County High School football player of the year? Who do you think?
Well, I'm going to give Freeport some love here. I talked to Coach John Gaylott during their photo day, and Jackson Reiser is a central piece of their defense, linebacker who had great stats last year. He's kind of the heart and soul of that unit. He's a sideline linebacker, kind of one of those classic linebackers you like to see that enjoys hitting, that enjoys being in every play. So if Freeport's defense, and I know it's a defensive guy, so if Freeport's defense can play to the level they did last year, where they held 8 opponents, I think, to 14 points or less, and they make a run in the playoffs like they've wanted to do the past few years, then he'll be a big reason why, and you got to show him some love there.
Okay, and who else? I said 2 guys. Give me another one.
I'll say Luke Lawson from Seneca Valley. He's another guy who's a leader, who's a big part of his unit. He'll be playing both sides for Seneca Valley this year before he heads off to Navy next year. But he was a great wide receiver for Seneca Valley last year, and with Brandon Ross going to Notre Dame College, he'll kind of be counting on to step up and be their top receiver this year.
Derek, what say you? Give me a couple candidates here. Player of the year.
You can be great on one side of the ball, but obviously if you're great on both sides of the ball, that just
adds to your resume for sure.
It just amplifies what you're able to do for the team. Obviously, there's several guys out there that came to mind. Mikey Card up at AC Valley, 1,000-yard, potentially a 1,000-yard rusher, defensive end on that side of the ball, really good on both sides. Aiden Lysick, tight end, defensive end at Seneca Valley. I'm gonna pick 2 guys here. One's already been mentioned, Luke Lawson, standout wide receiver and defensive back for Seneca Valley. I don't want to downplay what he's able to do on the defensive side. Sure. Kid's an athlete. He's all over the place, so he's going to be making plays on both sides of the ball. And the other guy, same positions, wide receiver, defensive back, Michael Roop at Carson City.
Micah Rupp,
He's very good. Both of those guys are going to have huge impacts on their team. this year on both sides of the ball, and those are my two co-MVPs preseason at least.
Well,
Lawson and Michael Root.
You mentioned Mikey Card, good choice. But what could hurt him in this regard, though, he's going to have some company in that backfield with Dawson Campers. They could split up things that way.
Sure.
My two picks, two other names I'm going to throw out. Staying with Corn City, quarterback. Their quarterback is Eric Brewer. He also is going to play linebacker this year. So Eric, but I think this season could be, and Corn City's offense could be tailor-made for him this year. But by that I mean, running back wise, they bring back some guys. Not a lot of carries from last year. They had 2,000-yard running backs last year. They both graduated. So, and Eric Brewer is quite a runner at quarterback. He's going to get, I think, even more carries this year than he did last year. I think he ran for over 400 yards last year. He could double that this year easily with that offense. And you mentioned Micah Rupp, pretty good target to throw to. He also has Cooper Coyle and Nate Gehring, two experienced receivers who were productive in the passing game last year. Eric Brewer could put up some huge numbers for KC. My other guy is a guy you did a feature on for our preseason football tabloid, which everyone should check out, by the way. It came out on Wednesday of this week. But Jack Fennell at North Catholic. I mean, I think whatever North Catholic does offensively, special teams, return game, Jack Fennell's going to be in the middle of all those things.
And he's also starting this year for the first time on defense as a cornerback. So
yes, I think he's a definite candidate. So we mentioned all these guys are viable candidates, and we didn't even mention some other guys like Max Schnurr, quarterback at Butler High School, and you go up and down the list. There's all kinds of candidates. How about David Desicino at Montauk, a great two-way player. So
Matt Martino.
a lot of candidates. Matt Martino, and in our cover boys on the football tab, William Mokel and John Sabo, Sephiroth, quite a quarterback receiving combo there. So a lot of candidates there. My favorite part of the show, we're at it right now, the first over-under of the season. And I say this every year. This year I'm doing it. In fact, I'm going to mark it down right now. I will keep track of our over-under results.
You promise.
This year. I do. I promise it every year. This year I'm writing it down right now. We'll be doing it. Derek, we'll start with you on my first category. Most yards rushing by any county football player in the first week. Over-under 130.5 yards. Will any player in Butler County Friday night top that figure?
I'm covering Karn City on Friday up at DuBois.
Yep.
As you mentioned, they just graduated 2,000-yard rushers in Luke Gehring and Jay Sanderson.
But they still love to run the ball.
They still love to run the ball, but they do have Nate Gehring and Michael Root to throw the ball too.
They do.
So at least early in the season, I could see them throwing the ball a decent amount more than they're used to. Up at Union AC Valley, you mentioned it. They got two great running backs,
Yep.
Dawson Camper, Mikey Card. They're going to take yards away from each other.
Yep.
This week, I
Tricky over.
think it's going under. I
under?
think we're going to have some running backs with good games. You might have a kid with 15 carries for 90 yards, but up to that 130, I don't think anybody's going to get to 130.
Brendan, 130.5. Yes or no? This covers any player in Butler County this Friday.
I think when we were handed these sheets yesterday, I said over easily, right? I got to switch my pick.
Second thoughts.
So yeah,
Second thoughts.
being that the prominent backfields in the county, kind of like you mentioned at AC Valley, they're splitting time between two running backs to keep them fresh. Especially early in the season, you don't want to tire one running back out and not have them later. So I think with them sharing the backfield like that, like Derek said, they may put up some big numbers, but not quite like that.
So you're going under. I'm gonna have to make it a clean sweeper. I thought I'd get some mix, but it's not going to happen. Much to Derek's point, it's the first week of the season. I don't know if anyone's going to come out of the gate with that kind of productivity running the football. And my other reason for this is there's too many spreads anymore. Too many. Not that I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just the shift in high school football. A lot more teams are throwing the ball. You don't get a running back getting maybe the 20 to 22 carries it's going to take to get that total. So I'm going to complete that sweep and go under also. Ben, we'll start with you in this one. Combined points scored. This is combined. Points scored in the Penn Hills game at Seneca Valley. Over under 45.5 combined. What do you think?
Well, defenses in the first week aren't always completely cohesive. They're still getting their groove. So there's going to be a lot of big plays in this game. I think we talked about that earlier. A lot of athletes, so I'll say over there.
You're going over. And Derek, what do you think? 45.5 in the Penn Hills versus Seneca.
Well, I actually think this game's going to be a tad lopsided, but I did mention earlier that both teams have playmakers on offense, and because of that, I think it's going to go over, but we'll save my pick for later. I actually think this game's going to be won pretty handily by one team, but we'll talk about that.
Well, I'm disappointed because I failed my over.
Early this season for you, too.
I know, because I'm going over also, so that's a no mix. You always want to get a mix in the over under. It's not going to happen here, so I'm going over. My notes here look like a tic-tac-toe board, 3 straight O's going across. So it didn't work out, but one of you guys will take a shot next week, so we'll.
Actually, I believe it's Brendan. He has volunteered to do next week's
Oh,
game.
I'll be
Brendan,
captain.
Brendan's
I'll be
gonna
captain.
Captain of the week 2 ship. All right. Prediction time. We will go through the schedule, make our picks. We start out with Shaler at Butler. What I always love about week 1 is I don't have to go through 1 loss record because there aren't any. Shaler at Butler. Derek, we'll start with you. What's your take on this game?
I said it at the start. I think this is going to be the game of the week in terms of plays on both sides, back and forth excitement. Both defenses, I think, are going to struggle in this game and possibly a few weeks into the season on defense because Shaler lost a ton from their defense. They graduated a ton. Butler's problem right now is on their roster, they got the talent, but they got some major injuries, especially in the secondary. So I think
against the passing team, too.
I think this game's going to be back and forth, but playing at home, Butler, they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder for the last few years. I think it comes into play here. I got the Golden Tornadoes starting the season with a 36-33 win.
All right.
Shootout.
Brendan, Shaler, Butler, what do you think?
You're looking for disagreement here. I think you got it. Butler is depleted in the secondary. Maxner wants 3,000 yards. It'll be a little tough for him with some of his favorite targets out. Lance Slater's gone the whole season. Brandon Littlejohn is still figuring out whether he's going to be able to play this week or next week. So I think Shaler with their passing offense will come in, and Butler will put up a fight, of course. I'm sure Coach Christie up there has put together a good plan, but Shaler will come out on top 31-21.
Butler's got a ringer. They got a ringer. I understand you got a transfer in from Texas. What I hear is pretty good at wide receiver. I haven't seen him. That's what I'm hearing, but I think Butler will win. I think Butler's defense, they already depleted in the secondary, but I like their line. I like the set of linebackers, and I think they'll put enough heat on Shaler to control that offense. I'm picking the Golden Tornado 28-17.
You know who was also from Texas?
Who's that?
Linus Sweet.
Yeah, right, good point.
Jim
but,
Smith, somewhere
we're talking high school ball.
Hey, I picked Butler.
It's funny you bring up one this week because I talked to Eric Christie the other day and he told me they dropped a couple touchdown passes during their scrimmage. So that's my
Get it out of your system.
Get it out of your system now. That's right. Okay, Penn Hills at Seneca Valley. Derek, you cover Seneca on a regular basis. We'll start with you. You hinted earlier that's going to be a lopsided win.
I do.
What do you got?
Well, Penn Hills has a quarterback, Julian Duggar, who is a dual threat, 600 plus rushing yards last year, over 1,300 passing yards, 20 combined touchdowns between rushing and passing. Seneca Valley brought in a new strength and conditioning coach in the offseason, Casey Williams. He's a world-class weightlifter, and Logan Armstrong, who's one of their offensive linemen, just he applauded this guy. He said everybody's benefited from this guy being with the team. He came in January, February when they started lifting weights. The whole team is bigger, stronger. Penn Hills has playmakers, but they're not going to be nearly as tough as Seneca Valley. Seneca Valley is going to have the muscle. Penn Hills pretty much has speed, and Seneca Valley has both, actually. And I think this is going to be a fairly easy win for Seneca. I got them winning 35-16.
Yeah, also, my pick in there, I picked the Raiders as well. I think a closer game, though. I have 34-21 for Seneca Valley. Brendan, what do you think on this one?
I agree with both of you. Seneca Valley will face some stiffer competition later in the season in that 6A class, but they'll come out here 28-21.
Knock is playing at Hampton this week. The Talbots coming off a great year, 11-1 last year. They got to the second round of the playoffs before they lost, I believe, to Thomas Jefferson. They have a new coach down in Hampton this year. Our buddy Jacques Demanio is gone.
Yeah,
and of course, the new coach, we mentioned Tim Burch over Knock, whole new offense there, a whole new defense there. Going to Hampton, though, I think Knock will have a pretty good showing for itself. I don't see them winning, though. I'm picking Hampton to win 21-14. Just a note on this game, though, believe it or not, they played each other, I believe, over 50 times in their history. If Knox wins down there Friday, that all-time series would be dead even. How about that for a little tidbit of information? So I'm going Hampton 21-14. Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Hampton will have the advantage here, being that they had the success last season. They're starting off at home. You always want to start at home as a team. And against a team that is still trying to find its identity, that the new head coach, I know he had camp and stuff to get them together, but it's going to take a little while for them to gel. So I'm going to take Hampton 38-14.
Okay, we got.
Yeah, I didn't go.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to just say Derek.
No.
Knocking
Before you get
Hampton,
to the first
what do
show,
you
you're
think?
ready to boot me
I know.
over.
Knocking Hampton.
Hey,
What do you think?
Steve Scuolo, the new coach at Hampton, is
Yep.
a former NFL player. Played for the Eagles and the Colts 15, 16 years ago. Hampton lost a lot.
They did.
Lost a lot of talent. One guy they do have back is Brock Borgo, 1,000-yard rusher from last year. Their new head coach is a former offensive lineman in the NFL. I think he's going to have his tablets ready to open up holes for this guy right off the bat. And I got Hampton winning 29-17. But I think, Knox on the right track. I mean, they're gonna put up a fight in this game, and wins will come for them down the road.
Hampton's blanked them last two times they played them. I believe 30-0 and 49.
Not this time.
Yeah, I don't think they'll blank them this time either. Indiana, the Little Indians coming to Freeport. Brendan, this is your game, so we'll start out with you. What are your thoughts on Yellow Jackets' debut?
They're strong on both sides. Last year they made the second round of the playoffs, got booted, but this year they have Zach Clark back, a dynamic runner, can move like crazy. Ben Lane, he's been starting for 3 years. He started quarterback, and then he was to running back last year, and quarterback again. He knows every position, every skill position on the offense, so they can move him around to wherever they need him, and he's great at all positions. So that running game combined with a strong defense that brought 7 guys back, that will bode well for Freeport. They'll win 28-14 at home.
Derek, Indiana or Freeport? What do you think?
People forget that Freeport played for a conference championship last year.
They did.
They entered that game with against North Catholic, winner takes all, and obviously North Catholic won that game, but now North Catholic has been banished to Class 4A.
Yep.
Freeport doesn't have to worry, but no team in that conference has to worry about North Catholic anymore. Here's one of the most interesting stats I think I'm going to find all year. Last year, Indiana averaged 30 passing yards per game. They ran for over 3,000, but 83% of those rushing yards gone to graduation.
Yep.
So they got to
That's
find
their offense too. That's their offense.
They gotta
their
find-
offense is run.
Pull out the calculator for that one.
Yeah.
I did. I punched it in. But they might have a running back who's primed for a big season. But until I see it, until I see what they can do on offense, I can't go against Freeport. That defense playing at home, I got Freeport winning 28-14.
See, I predict this one to be one of the closest games of the weekend. I think you guys maybe dissing on the Little Indians a little bit much. I think they're going to give them a game, but I do pick Freeport 17-13.
Don't forget Mars. You forgot Mars there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did, man. It's opening week. You gotta cut me some slack.
Shake off the rust.
That's right. Checking off the rust here. That's right. Mars at Montour. Can't forget the planets. Mars is the own version of Coach K. His debut. Derek, again, one of your schools, you pay a lot of attention to the planets. What are your thoughts on your trip to Montour?
Well, Lucero's still down at Montour. Long
Yes,
time.
he is,
coach.
yep.
But I
That's
just
successful,
think
too.
there's a lot of talent returning for the Planets this year. You look at their record from last year, 2-8. You're like, okay, what are they bringing back? They're actually bringing back a good amount of talent. Hayden Mayer, who was last year's team MVP, Noah Nesselrode, Eric Kasparovich's son, Little Eric, is quarterback. I just think right off the bat, I'm not sure exactly what kind of record Mars is going to have this year, but off the bat, that energy that they've gotten in camp from the new coach, I think are going to go down to Montour, and things are going to turn out well for them. I got Mars winning this game 28-13.
I'm going to go with the Planets also, but in a closer game, simply because it's going to take a while for all those changes to gel, especially new quarterback, new offense. Everything's new to those kids. And going on to Montour is a bit of a challenging opener, but I do think Mars will find a way. I'm picking the Planets 27-20. Brendan, what do you think?
You mentioned that offense is new. It's definitely not new to Coach Kasparovich's son. He's seen that offense with his dad on the sidelines for years. I think it'll be interesting. Coach Kasparowicz was an All-American at North Hills in his time playing. If his son can take any of that talent or any of those lessons from his dad early on, then it'll be good for Mars. So I'll go 28-14 Mars.
Okay. And North Battle of the Catholics here. North Catholic at Sarah Catholic. Brendan, we'll start with you on this game. Two teams, as Derek mentioned earlier, coming off very strong seasons. What are your thoughts on this pretty tough road game for North Catholic to start off?
The last time we saw North Catholic, I went to cover that game at Heinz Field, and they did not have a good time there. So I'm sure that has been back in the back of their heads for the entirety of the off season. They get to go on the road here, kind of prove themselves early in a new classification. I'm going to take North Catholic 31-22.
Yeah, I'm picking North Catholic also. I love their program. I love their athletes. The coaching staff is settled in there now, and I think they're just going to keep on building from year to year. I'm picking the Trojans to roll in this first game, 35-14. Derek, what do you think?
I mentioned earlier that Sarah Catholic played for the 2A title last year. They actually won that, and I think they lost in the second round of the state playoffs. But they graduated their top passer, top running back, and top receiver. Now, North Catholic's going to be breaking in a new quarterback too. Joey Prentice is gone.
Yeah.
And they're either going to give the reins of the offense to Jason Sickett, who got some time playing last year, or a transfer from Hopewell, Caden Sarver. Either way, I like them to win this game, going 25-13.
Okay, let's head up north, where Mr. Pyda will be heading up north this Friday night. Corn City, the Gremlins. Coming off an outstanding season last year, District 9 championship, lost a competitive game to Farrell in the snow and ice. I remember that night well over at Corn City. The Gremlins open up at Du Bois. I'll pick this one right away. I'm going with Corn City 34-20. I love their offense. I mentioned Eric Brewer, quarterback earlier. I love him running that show, the experience at receiver. They have to rebuild their line, but they always do that. And they always have running backs who got a spat on their carries last year. These guys will mesh. Their offense is going to hit the ground running, and their defense may take a little while to come together. But I'm picking, as I said, 34-20 KC. Derek, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
You know, it remains to be seen who Corn City's top running back is going to be this year. I know they like to work a lot of guys in, but you know, are they going to end up with a Luke Gehring or a Jace Anderson? I don't know. But in this matchup, I definitely like Corn City to be the tougher, more physical team. Du Bois is, I think they're the biggest team in that conference, enrollment-wise. I mean, Du Bois is, I think they're a 4A team, but I just like Corn City's chances of being the better, physical, tougher team, 30-10 actually.
Brendan, there aren't too many high school football teams that can graduate 2,000-yard rushers and not be hurting in the ground game the next year. Corn City is one of those schools that can seem that they can do that. What are your thoughts on KC and Du Bois game?
When I talked to Joe Sherwin to get his comments or his thoughts on 7-on-7s earlier this summer, he mentioned they're still going to be a running team. Whether they have these wide receivers, they have this quarterback, this experience, they're still going to pound the ball. So it'll be interesting to see how those kids kind of step up there. This will be their first test. They'll come out on top 24-17.
And Brendan will stay with you on this next game. It's Montauk, the one-win Warriors from last year. Experienced group coming back, as I mentioned earlier in our program here. They're physically stronger. They're going up to St. Mary's to play the Dutch, who had a quite year last year. What do you pick on Montauk at St. Mary's?
See, that experience will pay off for Montauk, just not right away. I think them going on the road, it'll be a nice lesson for them, but they'll come out with a loss 31-14.
Derek, will the Warriors pull off one of the early upsets of the season?
No, but
okay.
I covered St. Mary's once last year. They played Corn City at Corn City, and this quarterback, Christian Kudret, threw for 400 yards, 400 plus yards, 5 touchdowns. He's gone. Now, most of their skill players, other than him, return. They got a lot of skill guys. They got to find a new quarterback. And, you know, they're going up against the Montauk team that's tough. They got Matt Martino, David Desicino. Yep. I think those guys are going to help keep this game close. But you know, it's a decent road trip for Montauk, up in the Dutch country in Elk County. I'd like St. Mary's to win this game 20-14, but it's going to be close. And I think you're going to be able to see some of the strides Montauk's made, just like Knock this week, in a loss, but they're going to make strides.
Yeah, we're thinking along the same lines there. I see Montauk scoring a couple touchdowns in this game, but their defense is going to have a hard time stopping St. Mary's. I'm picking the Dutch 35-20. Cameron County, tough opener for them. They got to go up to Union AC Valley to play the Falcon Knights, who, like Coin City, coming off a very strong season. They broke through with a couple playoff wins last year. Very strong season. Derek, I know you're always on the Falcon Knight bandwagon.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts with their opener against Cameron County?
Well, you mentioned that Union AC Valley won a couple playoff games last year. The first one was against Cameron County.
Yes, it was.
It was at Reimersburg. I covered that game early on. Cameron County drove right down the field, scored, missed the extra point. They're up 6-0, and then Union AC Valley dropped the steel curtain, so to speak, on this Cameron County offense. 31-6 was the final. We got to remember, Union AC Valley lost in the District 9 title game last year to Red Bank Valley by 1 touchdown, and Red Bank ended up playing for a state title.
Yeah.
So Union AC Valley, they bring a lot of talent back from that team, and I don't think that the gap has closed this much. 31-6 victory over Cameron County last year in the playoffs. The gap has not closed that much. I like Union AC to win this game 37-6.
Yeah, this offense for the Falcon Knights is going to be something to see. As you mentioned, Eric, they got a lot of weapons back, including the quarterback. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They have a very solid line. And combined Landon Chalmers, who's the district small school offensive lineman of the year last year, he's back. I see them rolling also. I'm picking 30-12 Union East Valley over Cameron County. Brendan, what do you think on this one?
You guys said about all I could say there. Union AC Valley will win this one 27-13.
Slippery Rock heading to General McLean, is heading up Erie Way. Slippery Rock also coming off a pretty solid season last year. You remember last year they had to change opponents for the first 2 or 3 games because of COVID situations with the opposition, not so much with themselves. But Ben, we'll start with you here. Slippery Rock and General McLean, what are you thinking?
So both their quarterback, William Mokel and John Sable, are back, featured, as we said, the cover story. The work that they've put in over the past 3 years is insane. And wake up, it's hard to roll out of bed at 6 in the morning, especially if you want to go and throw a few passes before school. Most kids just want to sleep in. I'm sure I would. But that's what they've done for the past 3 years, and they've formed a special connection. Their goal is 15 touchdowns. They want to connect for 15 touchdowns this year. They got 9 last year. William Mokel missed a few games with an injury. But that combined with the fact that they want to kind of atone for their loss to Grove City in that playoff game last year, the players mentioned that's stuck with them. They're going to want to get on a roll this season. This will be the start. 35-17 Slippery Rock.
All right. I'm also going to go with Rockets. I like the talent they have coming back. Going up to McLean is not that far of a road trip for them. I think they'll handle it, but it'll be a competitive ballgame though. I'm picking Slippery Rock 27-14. Derek, what say you on this matchup?
Slippery Rock's opponents this year are going to find out. I think it's a very bad combination for their opponents this year. Not only do they have a lot of talent returning, as Brendan mentioned, they got a chip on their shoulder. They played. You can't get any bigger of a rival for Slippery Rock than Grove City. And Grove City beat them in the District 10 championship game that year. That chip is still on their shoulder. Plus, they got a lot of talent returning. They do have some holes to fill on defense, but at least week 1 here, I like them to go north and bring back a win. Close game, 24-17 Rockets.
No, I covered that game. You mentioned that Slippery Rock Grove City District title game. I covered that game last year, and what impressed me about that at the end of it was the mutual respect those 2 rival teams had for each other after the game. It kind of showed me that Slippery Rock really arrived as a program in Grove City's eyes. Grove City is, as you know, controlled them for a number of years there. But Slippery Rock's right there with them now. I expect them to have a strong year starting with this week. One other game this week, Summit Academy. They're heading to Newcastle. We don't know much about Summit. Brendan, you did their preview. Given the nature of their school, we really can't reveal any names of their players just yet, but your thoughts, tough opener for them going up to Newcastle.
Yeah, like you mentioned, they have a new coach, but he's not a newcomer to the school. He's been there 7 years. He's assisted with them for 7 years. And in our conversation, he mentioned he kind of grew up in the same sort of environment or situation as his players did. He grew up in McKeesport, and they're all about football there. He played collegiately at Clarion. But the fact that he can kind of relate to his kids, Clary, the fact that he can kind of relate to his kids will help, especially being that he mentioned 24 of his 30 players put on pads the first time this camp, which is extremely interesting in Pennsylvania high school football. He mentioned they're only going to run a few plays, but they're going to run them well. Still here, Newcastle's going to overpower them, and it'll be a 31-14 ball game.
Derek, what are your thoughts? Summit Academy, like I said, the toughest time going to Newcastle to start the season.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Whitbill comes up with these non-conference games, right? They
do.
schedule not the ADs. The Whitbill
Correct.
schedules it.
Correct.
Summit Academy's a single A team, and Newcastle's a 4A team. Who's scheduling this?
I know. I don't know.
It's actually the second straight year these teams will have played. Last year, Newcastle beat them 48-4. That was the final score, 48-4.
Yeah, they had two safeties.
So this year Summit scores 10 more points. 44-14. It's going to be a blowout, but these, my opinion, these teams should not be on the field with each other. 4A against 1A, and it's not just a 1A program. It's Summit Academy is a special case.
Yes.
They got new players every single year.
Right.
I'm sending a petition to the Whitbill.
Oh, all right. I think some of this. I think the Summit Academy finds the end zone, but one time, as you guys mentioned, it's an unfair matchup, especially in a season opener with a whole new team. I'm taking Newcastle 33-6 over Summit Academy. In our final segment, and how about we will stay with football, but we'll switch over to college football. Slippery Rock University, 3-time defending PSAC West champions. Their success has been well documented in our paper through the years. But this year a little bit different. Brendan, you're a Rock graduate. They graduate 16 seniors, the winningest class in SIU history. Those seniors won 41 games over 4 years in an incredible total, really. 20 transfer players coming in. Can they win, or will they win a fourth successive PSAC West title with this kind of transition?
That's a lot of turnover there, John. That many transfers coming in from different programs. That they're going to have to kind of get acclimated to with the success that Slippery Rock has had the past few years, as you mentioned. Noah Grover won't have that trio of wide receivers he had last year to kind of open up the run game or keep that offense's balance. It remains to be seen how that offense kind of transitions with that. But I'm going to say that they don't do that this year, that they will not win their division in PSAC.
Will they have a winning season?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
They have a tough schedule. So,
They do.
Yeah,
They do have a tough schedule. Yeah.
Especially the guys or the teams that they face on the other side. They're always strong, Kutztown and teams like that. So yeah, it'll be tough for them, but they will have a winning season.
Derek, a new Little Rock team this year. Do they maintain their perch for a fourth straight year atop the PSAC?
I thought this was an easy answer for me, but apparently Brendan disagreed. I'm going to take the easy way out as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, until somebody in that division shows up and says, hey, this is what we have this year. They play Slippery Rock and beat them. I know IUP and Cal always are on the radar in the PSAC West, but you got these transfers coming in. And we were talking the other night in the office.
Yep.
You're a transfer from a school around the country, and you're looking to go to a place where you can win.
Sure.
Slippery Rock's got to be near the top of that list. They're one of the most consistent programs in this area of the country over the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah, and there are different types of transfers in college football too, especially at the Division II level. You got transfers who are coming down, so to speak, from Division I programs where maybe they didn't succeed, maybe they got in trouble there, maybe they couldn't play there, whatever reasons they wound up at a competitive D2 school. You have other transfers who they have one or 2 years left to play. Maybe they graduated from elsewhere. Maybe they want a shot at winning a championship before they're done with their careers, so they go to a winning team. These transfers that Slippery Rock's brought in this year are more of that latter category. They got a lot of guys in as grad students. A lot of these guys are stepping in and are going to start for them. They have 3 starting secondary guys this year, transfers. 2 starting linebackers this year, transfers. All with pretty good pedigrees from previous schools. They're still going to be very good. I just think the odds of them winning a 4th straight title is against them a little bit. My pick is for California to win the West this year. I think they're loaded. They've got a 4th-year starting quarterback who's a very good player. And Noah Grover, Brendan, you mentioned, he's outstanding. I mean, his first start at Slippery Rock, he threw a school record 8 touchdown passes up again. It's just a crazy game. Slippery Rock's going to be in it to the end. I think this year the odds catch up to them. I don't think they win the West. I think they fall a little bit short, but they're going to certainly be one of the contenders for that. That concludes this week's program. You can catch us on Spotify. You can find the program that way. We look forward to being here each and every week during the high school football season, and we will catch you all next week when Brendan Howe will be at the controls.
And check out next Sunday's football edition in the Butler Eagle. First game coverage.
Good thing to mention. As usual, we're planning heavy coverage on each and every Friday night. We'll be staffing at least a half a dozen games. We're taking pictures at 4 games. Wide open high school football spread in the Butler Eagle each and every Sunday. Check that out. And this week, the football tabloid came out this week, and make sure you check out that. I don't have a copy here to show you, but 40 pages, all local content, roster schedules, previews. It's all there, so check that out as well. If you don't subscribe to the Butler Eagle, now's a good time to start doing that. Again, if you're a high school football fan, if your son plays, if you have a nephew playing, grandson, if you're just a fan of a particular school, if you're a student at a school, we cover every high school football team in Butler County. They will all receive a prominent play in our pages, not only on Sundays, but throughout the week. We do preview stories on them, and then once soccer season starts, volleyball season starts, cross country season starts, all those other fall sports, they will be covered in our paper as well. So if you're a Butler County High School sports fan, please check us out. It'll be worth your while.